Sorry. Thanks, Sheila. We're delighted to be hosting this session about the Essex Hudson Greenway. We're delighted to have Maggie McCann from NJDEP to share with us the plans and some information and to hear from you about your thoughts and your insights. As you've probably heard, we are going to be recording this webinar and we will share with everybody here and those who registered the webinar link as well as the presentation. Please put your questions in the Q&A down at the bottom and we will address them. What we'll do is we'll read them to Maggie later so they become part of the recording. If we don't get to your questions for whatever reason, or you have another question you think of afterwards, please email us at info@anjec.org. That's the best way to reach us at ANJAC, and then we can make sure your question gets answered in an appropriate manner. Thank you. So a little bit about ANJAC for those of you who might not know. ANJAC is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. We're not a government agency. Our mission is to promote local action, to protect New Jersey's natural resources, and ensure equitable, healthy communities. You'll see on this picture a few of the members of our board who were in charge of updating our mission statement recently to reflect a little more of the inclusive practices that we are trying to make sure we do for everybody in New Jersey. A lot of what we do besides this kind of a webinar or other webinars that most of you, maybe some of you have heard, we just finished in March our fundamentals for effective environmental commissions. And we will have webinars coming up all throughout the year. And if you visit our website, you'll see there's a link. We have a lot coming up in April. And we hope you come and join us. We are starting to, as of 2023 and 2024, having some in-person events again, little round tables and stuff. So please come and meet some people on a local level. We'd love to see you in person or virtually. We also publish the quarterly ANJAC report, which it comes in hard copy or digital format on our website as well. And then we also publish a bi-weekly ANJAC news, which is a digital newsletter that's sent out by email. I just mentioned that we finished the fundamentals for effective environmental commission. That's one of our core trainings, our core events. And then another one of our big programs that we do every year is an environmental congress. This year, it's going to be on Friday, September 27th. So we hope to see some of you there. That will be an in-person event. A lot of what ANJAC is doing is working on environmental issues to help make sure statewide laws are focused on what we need them to be and what we all want them to be. And we are there for you and with you, including with a lot of DEP people. Thank you. You'll see the New Jersey Plastics logo. ANJAC is a founding team member for that. We sponsor that program and we have a website. We hope you'll visit that. And Sheila has posted this nice graphic of all the towns that passed, that banned plastic bags a couple of years ago. As you all recall, we now have one of the strongest, probably the strongest state law that banning single-use plastics in the country. And that's partly because of the environmental commissions who did a lot of work, boots on the ground, passing these individual ordinances in their town until the state legislature realized that we need to have one rule for the whole state. So congrats to all of you, because we couldn't have done it without you. We have some programs I want to make you aware of. There's a deadline on April 26th, which is a Friday, for open space stewardship grants. These are for environmental commissions, and the money goes to the municipal environmental commissions to help do things that would help stewardship some of your open spaces, like a rain garden. You'll see here, there's a picture of West Orange that did a pollinator. Well, they did a pollinator garden, but there was also actually somebody that did a bee apiary, as you can see. Even more than a pollinator garden, which is terrific. Tinton Falls last year, I think it was last year, made some poles for osprey nests. Tinton Falls, as you know, is on the coast, and there was a beautiful park, and the ospreys are coming to visit. So that's terrific. So they're encouraging local habitat and really getting a lot of good education to the community about all those things, about the pollinators and about the ospreys. Similar projects. So that deadline is Friday, April 26th. Any questions on that, you can email us at info@anjec.org. Another deadline that's coming up on April 30th is a scholarship program we have of $1,200 for a college student entering your junior or senior year in New Jersey. There's a lot more information on this on our website. And how is our work made possible? As I mentioned, we're a 501c3, so thanks to supporters like you. Memberships, municipal memberships are key to our being able to keep getting education like this out to you. Individual donations, plenty of wonderful people give a personal donation to ANJEC, which is wonderful. And of course, we do get foundation support and business and corporate sponsors. So that's how we work. And if you're interested in any of that, use this QR code and take you to information about our memberships. And hopefully we can interest you in it, something like that. Another thing that's been coming up recently, as you all probably know, are all the new stormwater regulations that have come on. So that's part of our 2024 priorities, is to help making sure that municipalities are compliant with the new permit to help support adoption of stormwater utilities where they're appropriate. There's a lot of towns are going to be struggling maybe to pay for some of this stormwater stuff, and a utility might be a really good option. We're also even working to end more of the plastic pollution that we have by making the producer responsible. It's called the EPR, the Producer Responsibility Act. Also, obviously, we're still looking at climate resilience and climate change and what to do to help make sure that New Jersey is safe from flooding. And of course, renewable energy, which it ties into all of that as well, is some infrastructure for electric vehicles, as well as working on other renewable energy projects that can be done and supporting those efforts throughout our state. I mentioned we have a lot of events coming up, and we do. Next Tuesday, we're having a webinar on community solar, which is an interesting idea because some people live in places where you might not be able to have a little solar array on your own roof, but maybe there's a place in the community that you could have a bunch of solar that everybody could benefit from. So we'll have a webinar next Tuesday on that. And then on Saturday, April 13th, we're having an in-person session of the Fundamentals for Effective Environmental Commissions. That's happening in Somerville for those of you that might be interested. And then on Thursday, April 25th, we're having a virtual environmental poster exhibit. This will be really exciting. It's kind of a way that ANJEC is celebrating Earth Day. So we hope you will join us for that or any of these other events that you'll see popping up. You can always check our website at anjec.org for upcoming events that are being, as we get the information, they'll be on our website. And please let us know how we're doing. We'd love to hear from you. You can email us. You can find us on YouTube, which is where the recording for this webinar will be posted. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And on the right here, you'll see we have a member interest survey. We'd love to hear what our members would like, what we can help you with, what you're interested in. If there's a topic that we haven't talked about in a webinar recently, you'd like us to hear, show you about, please fill out that form and give us any information that might help you. So I think that's it. Thank you again for coming. And I'm delighted to introduce Maggie McCann from NJDEP to talk about the Greenway.
Liz, thanks so much. And hi, everybody. Maggie McCann, as Liz mentioned, and I'm just happy to be here. I started with the DEP in November, so I'm fairly new there, but I'm the administrator for urban parks and initiatives under the parks, forests, and historic sites. I'm still getting all of that right. What my real focus is both the Greenway project, which we'll be talking about today, and then I also oversee Liberty State Park and the Liberty State Park Revitalization Program. So just two little projects that really they have me working on. And also just trying to think a little bit more holistically statewide about how we can best support our more densely populated places so that people have what really we need to survive, especially in the times that we live in right now. So there's actually, I don't know if anybody can hear in the distance, there's just sirens going on because there was some big emergency. I live in South Jersey, and something has been going on for the past several hours by the 295-42 interchange. So, and I live very close to that. So it's been an interesting day. I'm glad I worked from home today. because everybody else that was commuting, I think, had a really rough time of it. So I'm going to get my screen up. So just give me a second so I can bring up my presentation. And hopefully everybody can see that.
Looks good.
I'm getting ahead of myself here. I was setting this up earlier with Liz and Sheila, and then it just glitched for a second, but I think I'm back on track. So so the Greenway will become the newest state park of New Jersey. I don't know what the name of it essentially will be. This is what we're working with right now. I think there's more to come there, and hopefully more input from the community and the public on what that name should be. There's definitely been a few names floated, and I'll talk about that a little bit on the next slide. So the DEP purchased the Greenway in 2022, but it was, a long time coming. Both Essex and Hudson had been working together to try and purchase the property and really get that going, but it's a really complicated and drawn out process, and frankly, really required a lot of stakeholders. And so some of you on the call may have been involved really in that grassroots movement going back to pretty much when the rail lines stopped being active. And so I know our friends at the Bike Walk Coalition have been working on this for a long time. And so, they came to the state. This was brought to us to say, like, can you figure this out? Because it's a big, complicated thing. And actually, I think it was just that we were at the right place at the right time because of the funding that has been opened up with both the American Rescue Plan and other funding that really enabled us to be able to come in and help with this acquisition. So thanks also to OSI, who was Open Space Institute, who was with us during the purchase and really helped negotiate that because it was such a big thing. I'll talk more about the Bike Walk Coalition Summit and being there, but I think that'll be part of likely what a panel that I'll be on. We'll be talking also about the acquisition, which happened, which obviously predates me. I'll say that in my past role, so I was the Camden County Parks Director for a number of years, and we were successful in getting a RAISE infrastructure grant from the US DOT to build part of what's envisioned to be a 32-mile greenway from the Ben Franklin Bridge to the Atlantic County border, with discussions right now happening with Atlantic County and others to realize a full trail down to Cape May Point. So really exciting there. So I had some familiarity with working on a project like this. We have been working on the design of that for the past several years and have funding for a lot of building it out, although have been that process has been a little slow going. So it's really exciting that we have this infusion from the federal government on that greenway and sort of a federal mandate to get that done in the next several years. And so really exciting there. So bringing that background to this project. So the 9 miles from Montclair to Jersey City will be maintained and owned by the DEP, but really hoping that since we're only building almost 2 miles in the first phase, really hoping that our partners will be with us as we find the funding and are able to really build out this vision. And, I don't think I need to tout this too much to this group here, right? But this is really the potential for this to be a transformative project and really create this both a recreational and a transit way, a people mover, and I guess I'll just say this here is that there's a part of this process. It also included New Jersey Transit because they've been looking at this line and doing something with this line. And so you might see in the future talk about transit and us working with transit. So more to come on that and what that would really look like. But even if there wasn't a traditional transit, right, if it's a Greenway, it is transit. People are going to move on it. And if we do it thoughtfully with other transit, then this could really be a this lush green corridor that helps people get connected to other places. So and just saying what leading into this slide, that yeah, we really are looking to have this be not only a safe place, but a catalyst for economic development. How do we, so the EDA is another partner in the project, right? How do we make sure that we are uplifting the people that live along the route, not displacing people, giving them the incentives, both from, a homeowner and entrepreneurial perspective, and making sure that people are able to withstand and be raised up at the same time that we're raising up the standard of living, that we're not pushing those people out. And so, we really got moving on this last year in terms of making sure that we were going out to the community. Our consultants were agency, and they had a sub-consultant of a group called Hive, who really were intentional about where they went, and understanding sort of where, hearing from people in both traditional and just kind of pop-up ways, right? So going to farmers markets, going to block parties, and then also holding sessions that were particular to us, making sure that people knew. And then that also was coupled with doing, I can't remember how many, it was tens of thousands of mailers that went out to properties adjacent and in a certain vicinity of the Greenway. And then we also did polling. And so I think I'll get into that in another slide, the next slide. So, and we really wanted to understand how people were going to use this. And so these were the 4 areas that we really looked at and talked, use that language to talk to people, because these seem to be the things that people look for when they're on a Greenway. So the online polling that we did, you can see, some example of questions, but we had, over 600 responses, and 73% of those identified as white. 61% of respondents represented households with children. And when asked what you want the Greenway to do, what do you want to do on the Greenway? It's exercise, travel to destinations, enjoy nature. And some quotes were to provide a more quiet, peaceful space where one can enjoy nature, movement, and space. And this person wanted a safe bike route between Essex County and Jersey City, and include fun facts. Somebody wanted us to include fun facts about founding fathers who made this community what we know it today. So that would be interesting. There's a lot of opportunities along the Greenway for interpretation, for sure. And so, these were, just a word bubble of all of the words that we were hearing and some of the things that really rose to the top in the larger text. So I'll pause here to say also that, when we started looking at things and understanding also where our funding was coming from, stormwater was a really big component of what we are trying to do here. So not only stormwater from the system itself, the Greenway itself, but also where can we assist the municipalities and bring in some of the stormwater to be infiltrated at the Greenway. So our designers are looking at that right now. I'll say that even though we chose Kearney and the Kearney cut, that might be a harder place to do stormwater, but you'll kind of see in this on the next slide too how we got to this place. But we looked at a bunch of different things and in deciding where we were going to invest these first dollars that we have right now. So you have remediation ease and then the remediation need. And so with both of those, where are we both going to be able to do this in a quick enough manner to use this money, because it has to be expended by a certain time, at least the American Rescue Plan funding. And then where is it also going to have the best impact, the most impact? So remediation, stormwater, and then also where are we going to have the wows and then the access, and really giving people who might not have that access to quality outdoor open spaces that give them that facility to be able to actually enjoy it and close to their house without having to go outside of their community. So you're seeing the whole line, but then those intense purple colors is where we were both having the most impact and the most ease. So there is a gap between them, unfortunately, because there's a bridge and bridges aren't easy. So recognizing that we only had a certain amount of time, we decided to focus on a section in Newark and then a section in Kearney. You also get some really amazing views in the section in Kearney, because it goes, kind of doesn't look like it does in this photo, but it goes right up to the Kearney cut, and we'll go to, I'm sorry, to the Kearney's view of the Meadowlands. So we'll go to that in the next slide. So you can see this at a little bit more detail where we focused on the areas. And so you have basically from Branch Brook Park up to Broadway as the first segment that will be focused on. And so that includes Tiffany Manor, Mount Prospect Boulevard, and then going to the other side of the Passaic, you have from Passaic up to the Gunnell Oval and out looking across to the Meadowlands. And so, frankly, we're still working on a lot of the details because this is a complicated project, but as long as we can get access at Gunnell Oval, this section would be completed in this first segment. It should not be a problem, but still more to come on that for sure. This is a really cool segment though of the Greenway, so it'd be great to get that built. There's some really cool industry that you have a view into, including some glass recycling, which glass recycling doesn't happen unfortunately as much as it should. So it's exciting to see that right on the Greenway. So and going so we thought of there's like 3 different areas that we're thinking of when we're talking about different spaces of the Greenway. So some of them are just these connections, the linear places where you're getting from point A to point B. But that could look different depending on what the typology, what the topography is. And so you're seeing in the lower sections what those could look like. And so there's a fast path and a slow path that are separated. In some cases, we try and give them as much space as possible. But if you go into the Kearney cut, you can see there's not a lot of space because you've got the sides of the Kearney cut that kind of box you in. So we're a little bit closer together there with them. And then same here, there's now it's up on a berm. And so there's not as much space to separate them, but there is a little in both the Kearney cut and the approach to the Meadowlands. There is some space. But we do have a lot more real estate to work with in Newark, which you'll see on some of the next slides. But here's a closer look at one of those connections. This is a very conceptual at this moment, but you can kind of see some different programmatic features that have been put in, including native plant buffers, passive recreation, just like a field that could be used in a multitude of ways, and then a hub at Tiffany Manor, which I think will go in the next slides, and again see some of those details. Great. So another thing that we were looking at is these overlooks, and so recognizing that at this moment we have only so much time to get things done, but also wanting to give people spaces that they'll be able to come to and take a rest at along the Greenway. These overlooks are a great way also to give people some views of places that they might not get to see right now. So, for example, a beautiful Passaic River overlook, and as I mentioned, the view from the Meadowlands is so cool right now. And so we'll see on the next slide. Oh, I'm gonna pause for a second.
Hi, so while Maggie's taking a break right now, we actually have a poll because I want to find out, we'd like to know who's on the webinar right now. So let me launch this one. Let's see. So we're trying to find out where. You can scroll down. We have all the towns listed there that are along the way. And if you're from another one, that's fine. But we're just trying to see who's on the call right now. We've got Kearney and Newark, Bloomfield, Glen Ridge, Montclair, Jersey City. Let's see. So I'm going to show you that. So you can see this. We've got someone from Jersey City. We don't have anyone from Secaucus. We've got Kearney, Newark, Bloomfield, Glen Ridge, Montclair, and a few others. So thank you everybody for coming. I thought I did share. Sorry. There, you can see if you want to see the shared results. Maggie, so we just did a poll to see where people are residing or working, to see who's here. And then I have one more poll. All right, let me close that. And what is that? Here we go. Launch this one. So this one I'm trying to find out, and many of you probably, I'm sure you people have multiple hats, so you can choose more than one. We've got environmental commissioners, residents, everybody. We're wondering if we have some green team members, some business people. I know we've got an elected official out there, so you gotta participate in the poll. There you go. We got 2 elected officials out there.
Well, I apologize. My allergies are really not great. So I got a little dry. I got a cough drop. Hopefully that'll help me.
All right, so I'm going to share these results just so you can see. So we have a lot of environmental commissioners. So then we have some elected officials, business owners or employees, residents, green team members, other. And again, thank you everybody for showing up. And I will stop sharing that. All right.
Excellent. And I was looking at the participants earlier. If my friend Nicole Miller's out there,
yes.
I owe you an email back. So as I was saying, the overlooks just are we're taking advantage of the beautiful views that we have both in the parks, at the river, and at the meadowlands. And so it's exciting, and I'll go to the next slide to give you a little bit more detail there. And I think I talk about this in later slides, but you look, there's some images that say ice seating, and so we'll talk about that a little later. And you're seeing the separated paths, the fast path, and then hopefully we can get started very soon on that Greenway West over the Branch Brook Bridge. But you know, adding in some of those architectural elements again to give people places that they can rest at and enjoy, and just maybe that's the place they go to. You know, they go to Branch Brook Park a lot, and they go up on the Greenway and go from there, or go back to back into extensive Branch Brook Park. So lots of opportunities. And then the third area that we've been really looking at is these hubs. And so connecting people in a place where they can really program in a multitude of ways. And so you're seeing the Tiffany Manor Hub having maybe some amphitheater style seating, nothing exaggerated, but just a place where if people wanted to, it could be this opportunity for performing arts or just gathering, and also having like a covered pavilion for shade, maybe a place for a food truck to park. And then similarly, Newark Central Hub, maybe really being able to take advantage of some of that real estate that we have. You can see how wide it is compared to the other sections of the Greenway, and really looking at putting in some active recreation there that people can use. Basketball courts, again, open space lawns that can be used in a multitude of ways. And we'll actually look also at another, again, gathering place, a place where people might be able to put on a concert and have some food stalls in that area. And also finally, Arlington Depot Hub, we heard from people that maybe it's community gardens. And so looking at that and seeing if that's a potential, the right fit for that neighborhood to have something there. And so if there's community gardens, maybe there's a few picnic tables and areas where people would be able to enjoy with their neighbors the things that they've grown. And so also having a little hub there that maybe is a bathroom, maybe you know, a public safety spot for people, and for also our PD and the state park police, or our employees to have maintenance supplies. So that area being used in a multitude of ways, both for sort of the back of house things, but also some community concessions, or even just a community kitchen kind of thing. And so this is a look at one of those hubs. And these are, again, early conceptual renderings just to kind of give us an idea. And in some later slides, you'll see some of the architectural renderings with here, and how that plays into sort of the history and the language that the designers are looking at. And here's just another view of that potential kind of stage area that would be at the Newark Central Hub. Ooh. Oh no, maybe I took those slides out, so I'll just talk about them. I thought we had kept them in. I'm just gonna go back and make sure I didn't miss them, but I think one of the things, and I talked about this a little bit, is that we have a lot of history along that line, and the line was actually used to carry ice. So there was an ice making facility, and so there was a so I know if some of you were involved in the past of this coming to fruition, is that it was either ice and iron, or iron and ice is one of the names. And again, I don't know what the name will be in the future, as I think all of the names are still on the table, but I know some people still call it the iron and ice, or the ice and iron line, and speaks to the industries that were on the line. But our designers have really taken some of those cues and put them into the language that is part of the design. And so kind of all along the place, you might see these blocks that represent the ice. And so they can be used in a multitude of different ways as play sculptures, as resting areas, and also just maybe in the surface. We've been kind of talking about them as like rumble strips or something. And so having blocks of ice, and those are denoting certain places. And so there's a lot of, and then the railroad. So if I go back to this image, you can kind of see the shapes that the walls are making as being like the rails, and then the slats over the pavilion area being like the ties. And so, you know, kind of just playing with that language that's already part of that area. And so, you know, if you're wondering how you can engage with the project, I would say, again, I just got started at the DEP, so I'm just getting going, but stakeholdering is something that I think is integral to any project, especially when you're talking about urban areas. So I would encourage you to sign up for our updates, so you'll get notifications. As I mentioned earlier, I will be at the Bike Walk Summit in Edison on May 18th. So hopefully some of you are already going, but should be a really great day. I know some of my colleagues, I think, are coming in from Camden County as well to kind of talk about the work that they've been doing and advancing there. So I know it'll be a really great day. And again, part of what our conversation will really make sure that we are focused and thinking about is, you know, how do we represent these greenways, this greenway, but also others in a way that talks about it as part and parcel of the transit community, and also I think, how do we ensure that we're doing what we should be doing to make sure that the public that already lives along the greenway stay along the greenway, and that we build their wealth along with the wealth that will be created by the greenway, and giving them, you know, ways that they can do that. And we're definitely also planning, we're really in the thick of it right now with the design. And so we're trying to take all of this from that conceptual to some real on the ground. And so a lot of the investigation has been ongoing, and some testing is being done still, but we're getting in a really good place to understand the geotechnical and all of the background that's needed in order for us to come back to you all, and especially to Kearney and Newark for this first phase. And so there'll be upcoming both workshops there, but also some online public places where we'll be updating you all on what this is really shaping up to be. So I want to thank everybody. It looks like we have at least one question, and hopefully everybody else can kind of think about some other questions that they might have. And then I'm happy to kind of talk about things just generally too.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you, Maggie.
Let me see. So yes, please put your questions into the Q&A. We have one here from Debbie Mans, who's I just learned is the mayor of Glen Ridge, so that's exciting. Anyway, she says, thank you for speaking with us all tonight. Since the initial announcement on the first segments, I have seen more reporting about bus use at the Greenway by the Meadowlands. This idea wasn't really surfaced during the Essex County outreach sessions. Could you please provide some additional information about plans for bus use, throughout the Greenway?
Yes, I think, well, what I can say there is there's definitely conversations with transit, and transit has been part of the conversations, at least from at least from my time here, but I know at some point, I don't know, during the acquisition, I think they had been brought into the conversation. So there is this possibility that there would be transit somewhere. And so you're seeing that fast and the slow path. That fast path could represent a space that we would use for a transit option. How transit has explained that is that would be sort of a very light transit option. And so I don't know if I would characterize it as a bus, but if you've seen some of the, I'm going to call it a tram car for lack of a better word right now, but they're rubber wheeled vehicles. They're small. But that's sort of the idea right now, at least that's being floated. But there's, I'll say there's not really, like, where we have a timeline, like we're going to build 2 miles of a greenway by the end of 2025. So that's our plan. And that's, we have funding to do that. And we're working right now with our permitting office. We have to get the permits, same as everybody else. So we're working through that with them. And so that's really, I don't know what that future is going to look like. But I think it's also something that we're going to be understanding a lot more again as we get that geotechnical, as we get some of this information firmed up in the next couple of months. I think we'll have some more daylight on what those things are looking like as well.
So I have a question. I was wondering who is going to be responsible for the maintenance of the Greenway?
Yeah. So ultimately the state will be responsible. The Parks Service will be responsible. And so it will, we already have a linear park, the DNR Canal. So we're familiar with a linear park of that nature. That's a much longer linear park, although different for sure. But I also think, there's right now they're working on legislation for a Greenway commission. So I think that also remains to be seen of exactly what that looks like and how that interfaces. My understanding, the way that that's sort of being written is they would be more in charge of the development of the Greenway, and maybe less so the long-term maintenance of the Greenway. So again, a lot to be seen with the whole 9 miles and sort of how that all comes together. But at the end of the day, the state of New Jersey, the Department of Environmental Protection, and the Parks Department have made, or the Parks program have made a commitment to maintain and manage the Greenway.
And what about security? Will the state also be responsible for that?
Yeah, so we already started hiring additional park police. Now I'll say that our park police are woefully understaffed, like a lot of our park system, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, we've been focused and making sure that we're adding to their numbers, and part of that being specifically for the Greenway. And so we actually have a police substation, for lack of a better word. We have a trailer sitting on the Greenway in Newark right now. And part of that's just to kind of say, like, hey, we're here, for them to have a place to go when they're there. And it's really, I think, part of giving them both that before this thing gets built, they're getting familiar with the area and engaged with both the local police, but also just like the local community. And so I think it's been really important to have them patrolling and just being eyes before we really start building anything and inviting the public.
Okay. So we have another question. What is the status of master planning for the future segments?
Yeah, thank you. I didn't really mention that, but as part of the design work that's happening right now or part of the contract for the design work that's happening on these first 2 segments, it also includes a design plan for the which isn't technically a master plan, but it's at least kind of putting into place design elements and looking at the whole 9 miles and giving us some recommendations and some language again, and kind of thinking a little bit forward about what needs to happen. And so that is going on. That's part of the same contract as this design work. And so those things are happening simultaneously. And so I was talking about the economic development and really looking at places along the Greenway that are right for maybe value added services for the Greenway, like shops or eateries, that kind of thing. They're taking a look at those things as well as they move forward. So I think that will continue on after the design work and this construction is starting. And so, but that's really, how is the new commission function? What is the role of the State Park Foundation? Thank you. And I'm sorry, you're going to read those, so I'll wait to answer those, but they play into each other. So, so I'll just say that the master planning, but what we're calling the design plan, is in process and will continue through, or at least into construction.
So, so you'd seen this next question. How might this new commission function, and what is the role of the new State Parks Foundation?
Yeah, those are really good questions. And I think they're questions that we're still trying to answer. So I don't think anybody's been appointed to the State Park Foundation. I think there's a lot of people too that are gonna, it's like 11 members, which it's just, with each new person, it's harder to get consensus right on things. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But I would think that they, so the new commission, I'm not really sure how that'll function because it's still being written, codified. We don't have that yet, and that's sort of in someone else's hands. I think the idea, though, again, is more that this commission would be focused on the development of the Greenway, and making sure that those future phases continue to happen. So what that looks like, I can't say right now. But and then the role of the new State Parks Foundation, I would really hope that that's a conduit then for some of that development work to happen. We need funds. We need to raise those funds. And I think the foundation can really be helpful in that.
Thank you. So here's another question from Chris Vasquez. Is there a timeline for future local engagement meetings in Kearney and Newark? What will those meetings look like? Q&A style, reveal of current draft plans and receive commentary, etc. And also if you have any tentative dates at the moment.
Yes, we don't have any tentative dates at the moment, unfortunately, although I'm really hoping that in the next couple of weeks, you'll get an email if you're on our email list with those upcoming dates, but those will be in person. They'll actually be more like a workshop style because we want to start getting into the details, especially with the neighbors, the people that live in these places and might live in some cases right on the Greenway. There are houses on the Greenway. So I think, you're going to see, we'll definitely be going back to Kearney, I think, to do like a council meeting where that will be more of a controlled, I think the council will ask us questions, and be able to interact with us, but I don't think the public will. And that's just, I think, what Kearney's looking for. But then after that, we would plan to go out and do a little bit more of a interactive setting in both Kearney and Newark, and it will be looking at the plans. So I'm really hoping those are May dates that we get on the calendar soon.
Thank you. And then we have a question from Nicole Miller, who says, hello. And just to clarify the question asked by Mayor Mans, many people are excited by the idea of transit, inclusive of mass bike and pedestrian being included in the Greenway planning, but a specific and sole use by the Meadowlands is a different conversation. Is there a special arrangement being made with the Meadowlands?
Yeah, I'm not aware, at least not on our property. But I can't say outside of our property, what might be happening there.
All right, let's see. I'm clearing this up. And then Karen Roundoff asks, how will you make sure populations near the Greenway won't be pushed out due to increased value of the properties?
Yeah, so Karen, really good question, and something that we're taking a look at. And again, part of why we have EDA as a partner in this is we really want to make sure that we're not doing that, but you do have to do some things. Now, one of the people that I've recently got in touch with is a man by the name of Brett Morris, who works for Common Good Labs, and they do research about this and finding those communities who have successfully brought in, major development into a place and done the work that needs to happen to make sure that people aren't displaced. And so I think it's not one thing, it's many things that you do. And just like incentivizing big businesses to come in to make jobs, you incentivize people to be able to stay in their houses. So for example, I know Philadelphia has a program where, if you've lived there a certain amount of years, you get assistance to make sure that you can stay there, either by freezing cost of housing, or being able to get monies back. There are other communities that have done this, and so we've been doing that research through our consultants and with the EDA to make sure that we're taking those things into consideration and starting to work on what those programs would look like. And so, but it's a huge thing because Mitchell Silver was the a planner by trade, but was the director of parks for New York City. And he talked about the fact that you can be you can not do anything with something and then be neglecting it, right? Like people say you're neglecting it, and then if you do something and you make it better and then people come in and drive up prices, then it's green gentrification. And so it's hard to find that middle road, but that middle road has to be with other partners that can actually make those economic development programs and initiatives that really then bolster both the entrepreneurial, the small business owner community, but also the homeowner community as well.
Thank you. And we have a question from William Cilentano. Are we okay with electrified vehicles, and is there going to be a speed limit?
There will be a speed limit, for sure. So I forget what the class of electric bikes are, but there are different classes of electric bikes. The only motorized thing that would be allowed on would be an electric bike. And I don't want to misspeak and say what kind of level electric bikes that we're envisioning allowing or not allowing.
Do you think they'd have like the electric scooters as well, or is it just bikes? Or
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we could like stop. Yeah, those. Yeah. But I definitely there would be a speed limit for sure. Can't have people whizzing by on. Yeah.
So if anybody has any more questions, this is a last call for questions. And I'm going to drop into the chat the link where you should go to sign up to so you can get the emails and you can find out the latest and when they, the next meetings that they have and things like that. So you can keep up to date on what's going on with this very exciting project.
Yeah, definitely more to come for sure.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you very much, Maggie, for presenting and spending your time with our commissioners and our friends here. And
so much, Maggie. It was great.
Right. Yeah, it's really great.
Oh, I will answer Chris's question though, because Chris said, can you speak to how other state park trails handle EMS vehicle access? Yeah, I mean, it's basically about making sure that you have the access. And so same thing with the work that we're doing on the Greenway is making sure that there's safe access points and kind of creating those areas, but also working with our PD to make sure on the Greenway, that we're thinking about those things and what's best for safety vehicles. And so that fast path would also help enable that, obviously in emergency situations. But with the DNR canal, it's really about making sure that our emergency response people know where those access points are. And so it's always about, just communication and making sure that you have things properly lit and marked out, and then communicated to those public safety offices.
Great.
Perfect.
So, all right. Well, thanks everyone.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much. And thank you everybody for coming out, and enjoy the rest of your evening.